Hi, this is Christine. Today I'm going to show you how to use my instructions and template set to make these tags and the border. On the border I've got these little bears, and some of the layers are raised, and this is called paper Tole or 3D decoupage, where you've got a three-dimensional look created by cutting out several identical pieces and just gluing them, stacking them one on top of the other. So I'm going to show you how to go about doing that. I also have a set for a baby girl, which is similar. The bears are a little bit different on this one. So today we're going to make the boy set. Let's go over some of the tools that I'll be using. First off, you have the instructions and you've got the templates. The templates are the images that you'll be cutting out. And I print the templates on some cardstock. I like to use white because I think my images come out better. And this is the cardstock that I use. It's just the Recollections plain cardstock that I buy at Michael's. And it comes in packs of 50 sheets, and sometimes they have them on sale, and that's when I stock up. I know that this week Michael's is having 4 packs for $10, so that's a pretty good deal. I'm going to go and stock up on that one. Next, I'm going to use this cutting board so I don't mark my table surface. And then you'll need some fine scissors, or I like to use this tool here, and it's really handy for cutting around rounded edges. Whatever you're comfortable with. Then I like to shape my pieces to give them a bit more dimension. So I've got this Martha Stewart stylus, and it's got a big ball on the end, and that allows me to shape the edge of my paper. And I also have this paper Tole tool that does the same thing. If you don't have these, you don't need to rush out and buy anything. Just find a pen that has a rounded edge on one end, and you can use that also to shape the paper. You don't need to shape the paper if you don't want to. I just like doing it because it does give it some extra dimension. Now when I'm shaping the paper, I need to push down, so I want a soft surface. And what I like to use is this piece of foam. So this, my tablet cover, is perfect for this. I got this at the dollar store, and it's perfect. I just lay my piece of paper over, and I can press down to shape easily on there. And then also I have these tweezers because I'm going to be using my hot glue gun to apply glue and lay down the pieces on my border. Now I also have some distressing ink because I'm going to ink the edges of my pieces. You don't have to do that, but I like to do that. So let's get started. First off, I'm going to use my first template, and I'm going to cut the base piece. I want to leave about 1/8 of an inch all around the base piece. Now you don't have to do that. You can cut it right along the blue line if you want, but I like leaving that little edge for contrast. So I'm going to cut this like that. I should have mentioned too, I'm using my cutting board, my cutter, paper trimmer, but if you're really good at cutting straight with scissors, go ahead. I'm not. So this is a base piece that I'll be attaching all of my parts to. On the template, you'll see there are some red lines, And the reason for that is it's going to show you which areas I need to cut as one piece. For example, on the first image, number 1, which, by the way, corresponds with the steps in the instructions. So number 1, trim around the bear's arm, soap, and stack of towels, forming one piece. So I want this here, around the red line. That's going to be one piece that I'm going to cut out. And when I cut, the red line is just a general area. When I cut, I'm going to cut along the edge of the piece, just along the black line of the edge of the piece. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Now on this piece number 1, I'm also going to cut separately the area around the bear's muzzle, and I'm going to trim the front section of the towel that's hanging on the holder. So let's start with the first piece. So I go around the bear's arm, and the bar of soap, and the towel, the stack of towels. So there's the first piece. And while I'm doing this, I'm going to plug in my glue gun. Next, I'm going to cut around the bear's muzzle. And then I'm going to cut the front piece of the towel that's hanging on the towel rack. So I've got all of my pieces from step number 1 done. Now I'm going to ink around the edges, and that way if you have a little bit of white paper where you cut beyond the black line, it's not going to show because you're going to ink around the edges anyways, and it just helps blend the whole thing together. Those cut marks seem to disappear when I ink. Now I want to give a little bit of shape to the paper. I want to round out the center area. I'm going to start with this piece here, and I just take my stylus or whatever tool you prefer using and just rub around the center part a bit, close to the edge, just like that. And it helps bend the paper, and it gives it that extra dimension, like that. See how it's sort of rounded like that a bit? I'm going to do that for my other pieces as well, just a little bit. Like that. Okay, and the fun part is assembling it. So these pieces are going to go on top of my base piece, and I'm just going to lay them over the original image, and you can see how it looks dimensional. I'm going to use my glue gun. I hope it's warm enough by now. And I'm going to apply little dabs of glue. I don't need glue all over the piece. I want a few dabs of glue in the center. And when you lay these down on your base piece, don't press down too much. You don't want to flatten it out. You just want it to stick on there. So I'm going to put a few dabs of glue. That, and this is where I'm going to use my little thongs here. Okay, and I just lay it down, try and get it as even as possible, and I just lay it down without pressing much at all, and then just let the glue dry. Like that. Next, I'm going to put the muzzle. So I'm going to, again, I'll use my little pinchers here. Put a little bit of glue on there. And then the towel. Like that. So you can see how it's already starting to look dimensional. Now I'm not finished with this bear yet. I go to step 2, and I'm going to use image number 2 for that. And I'm going to trim around the bear's arm and the bar soap, and that's going to be one piece. going to ink. And then I'm going to shape. I like using my stylus for that. You don't have to shape your pieces if you don't want to, but I like the look. Now this piece will attach over the last piece that I laid down, like that. And finally, the last piece I need to cut on this bear is his arm. On piece number 3. The arm is the frontmost part of this image, so it's attached last. And there we have the first bear is done. Now go ahead and cut the pieces for the second bear. I'm going to do that off camera, so I'm not taking up too much of your time, and then I'll come back and show you the pieces that I've cut and I'll assemble them. I've cut out the pieces for the second bear. Now on image number 4, I trimmed around the base of the tub, the soap and the bear's arm, forming one piece. And I also trimmed around the muzzle. So let's put those on the bear. I start with the tub. I shaped and I inked my pieces. So here's my first piece, the tub, the soap, and the arm. And the muzzle. Some people like working with the silicone glue, and it also gives that raised effect, but I couldn't find it anywhere, so I'm just using my glue gun and it does the same. In the next image, I trimmed around the soap and the bear's arm. And then finally, just the arm. And here is bear number 2. And get rid of those little filaments. Now, the next thing, I would trim my tags, but I'm going to finish working on the border first, and I'll do the tags after. So I want to cut a piece of cardstock that I can layer this on, and I'm using a different border on this one. Here I use the doily punch by Martha Stewart. For this one, I'm just going to use a different punch. It's called Garden Gate, and it's also by Martha Stewart. So I cut a piece of paper, of cardstock, this one is ivory, that my title will fit on, and I'm leaving some space around because I also want to mat this cardstock like that, and that piece will go over. So I'm going to mat. And then I'm going to attach my title. I like just using tape runner around some of the edges and finishing off with my glue stick. That way it'll be nice and flat. Okay, now I want to embellish this. I'm going to make my embellishments a little bit different. Here I used flowers and some ribbon. For this one, I'm going to use this little ribbon with a flower on it that I'm going to attach here, and then this little crystal flower here, and I'm going to put a butterfly here. can embellish however you wish. Like that. That's cute. And my border is done. It's ready to attach to my scrapbook page. So next I want to make my tags. For this set, I had done these bears here. I'm going to make these two bears. So I'm going to trim. Again, on this one, I can either go 1/8 of an inch away so that it matches with my border, but I'm going to go right up against the blue edge. It's your preference if you want to have that extra layered look as if it was matted with white paper. I'm just going to stick to that blue edge. Now I'm going to make a 3-layer tag, so I'm going to use some scrapbook paper and I'm going to attach it, leaving about 1/4 of an inch on each side. Before I do that, I think I'm going to ink these tags. I'm going to lay it down about 1/4 of an inch from the bottom and the left edge, like that. Then I cut around the other edges, leaving about 1/4 inch. Now I can either leave that square, or if I want to, I can trim the ends, and I think I'm going to trim the ends here. Then I'm going to attach this to my cardstock. I've got a piece of cardstock here that I can use, and I'm going to punch a border along the bottom. Again, on these tags I use the doily punch border. For this one I'm going to use a different punch. I don't know what this one is called, but it's by EK Success. then I can lay it down, and I'm going to position it on my design. So I think I'm going to, yeah, I'm going to leave about 1/8 of an inch or 1/16 of an inch around the edge, like that. So I'm going to glue that down like that. And then I can trim it, leaving a very narrow border around. And I trim these little ends. And my corners. Now on this pattern here, there's what looks like a little button. You can either punch a hole over that or just leave it like that. This one I don't have the little button, but I'm just going to go ahead and punch a little hole around here. The top, like that, and I'm going to stick an eyelet. Now this is all optional, of course. Like that. Then I want to put my ribbon at the top. Oops. My fingers are clumsy. Like so. Now you can put a little piece of glue, a little dab of glue here to hold it in place. Like that. And on this one, instead of the flower, I think I'm going to put another one of these little bows, like that. That's going to cover, actually it's going to cover my eyelet. So I think I'll just leave it plain. This one like that. But if I wanted to, I could put another little flower on there, but I'll just leave this one plain. So you go ahead and you can make your other tags the same way. And your set is completed. I hope you enjoyed making it and that you make many more. Bye.